Now your flyer for this weekend at Hakuna Matata Grill, besides advertising the show, it also said that Afrobeats has taken over and should we create our own sound in East Africa. I want you maybe to talk about this and what was on your mind when you came up with this tagline, Sistuki.
I actually did not come up with a tagline.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So whoever came up with the tagline.
So whoever came up with the tagline. And I think they have this Afrobeat, they have this East African anthems as a tagline for their whole of September at Hakuna Matata for the events they're doing there on Saturday. And I happen to be one of the DJs in that theme that they are providing right now. However, this is a conversation that has been going on since time forever. I feel like people have talked about it and beaten it and talked about it and talked about it. And literally all they've done is talk about it. So when I say all they've done is talk about it, is I feel like we haven't done anything else about it except from talk.
Okay.
Right? And I'll bring in, and I know you've mentioned this, but I'll bring in DJ Shinsky's comment, post.
Yes.
He said, Kenyans should come up with more Amapiano type music because it's the wave that's not going anywhere right now. It's what's popping.
Okay.
And I have to agree with him because let's take it back. Let's take it back to Afrobeat becoming popular. So we'll put Amapiano on the side for a second and let's take it back to Afrobeat becoming popular. Afrobeat became popular, became a global sound. People like Burna Boy, Wizkid, Davido becoming international musicians where they are listened to all over the world. We could say predominantly those really popular sounds and artists are Nigerian in the Afrobeat world, right? So they already had their signature Afrobeat and it was globally recognized. And then this Amapiano beat comes along, and for people that already have a signature beat that don't have any necessity, if we look at it from a Kenyan point of view, of diverting from that signature sound, they embraced Amapiano. And they released hits after hits after hits on this Amapiano type of beat.
Okay.
Right? Did they need to? Because they could say, we already have our signature beat, which is what Kenyans seem to be saying we need to go looking for. Kenyans, we say we need to go looking for our own signature beat. Afrobeat Nigerians already had their signature. But yet, they said, let's embrace Amapiano. Okay, let's move on to the East Coast of Africa, Tanzania. Bongo flavor already had its flavor.
Yes.
They were already doing music. Kina Diamond, Alikiba, everyone had things going on. They really didn't have to embrace Amapiano.
No, they didn't.
They didn't. They already had their signature beat. The so-called beat we seem to be looking for as Kenyans. But yet, they embraced the Amapiano wave. Because it is the vibe people were, the audience, they were going for the audience, right? When we talk, my opinion is when we as Kenyans talk about Kenya needs to find its own beat, or we already have a beat, it's called Genge, or Gengeton, or Kapuka, or whatever we want to call it. And we need to make that beat or that sound global. Let's go back to Kenya as a musical country. Kenya as a musical country is a diverse country. Growing up, Kenyans listened to all kinds of stuff. If I ask Mika, I ask you Ali, I ask OneMic or Omosh, what you guys grew up listening to, you'll all give me a different rendition of what you grew up listening to.
Yes.
I told you guys I grew up listening to soul and reggae. Some of you grew up listening to maybe rumba. People grew up listening to Lingala. You know, people grew up listening to Tarab. People grew up listening to a variation of music.
Yes.
When I started going out in Kenya to the clubs, the club would be dundaing from 10 p.m., 9 p.m. till 6 in the morning.
Yes.
And in that time frame, people have not come in and out. the crowd is there,
Yes.
and they are vibed to just about every genre the world has to offer. From before it was EDM, from techno to rock to bhangra to R&B and slow jams
To even
to
gospel.
rumba to gospel,
Even to sounds like mambo.
mambo.
Yep.
At that time there was kwaito from South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and people, there was hip hop. So we have never been like the people that say this is our vibe. We have been musically very global as Kenyans. Now, let's go back in the same time frame and say maybe we grew up in Nigeria. Were we as exposed to this global music if we grew up in Nigeria?
Absolutely not.
Were we as exposed to this global music had we grown up in South Africa?
I don't know about South Africa, but Nigeria, absolutely not.
Right.
From my interactions with
So,
Nigerians. Yeah.
I feel like the reason why Nigerians stick to Afrobeat is because that is what they've been exposed to.
Mhm.
I know, Ali, at one point you said if you want your kids to enjoy
Fufu.
fufu, then you need to feed them fufu.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want your
they'll
kids,
grow up thinking that's the
That's
most
the best
delicious
food.
Delicious
food
food,
Which is
yeah.
true.
in the
That's how
world.
we think about
Yeah.
ugali, right?
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
If you want your kids to love reggae,
Yeah.
then you play reggae in the house all the time.
Yes.
As they grow, they'll be like, this sound has a connection to me.
It has to grow in
Right?
them. Yeah.
So I never used to listen to a lot of soca before. I was never really that attached to soca music. And then I made a few trips to the Caribbean. I went to St. Lucia, I went to Barbados for vacation. And now, when I hear soca music, it takes me back to my experience in Barbados, to St. Lucia. It doesn't take me to a Caribbean party in Raleigh, North Carolina,
No.
which is where I used to listen to. I had had soca music before.
Mhm.
And I didn't say I disliked it, but I didn't care. I was neutral about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once I made a few trips to the Caribbean and I saw the vibe and it happening in its place, I started really loving soca music because I experienced it in its element.
Yes.
So to bring it back to what I'm trying to say is we keep trying to say we need a signature sound.
Mhm.
Our signature sound is global. So if Tanzania and Nigeria, who have signature sounds, are embracing a sound that is vibing, that is happening, that the audience is connecting with, then why wouldn't Kenya do the same thing?
Wouldn't you think there is a fear maybe from the artist in that Kenya is a very brutal market, especially to its own
Correct.
producers, right?
Correct.
And Amapiano is something that's enjoyed in Kenya. pretty much heavily,
Yeah.
right? But now the thing is, don't you think that maybe the artist is scared that once I venture into this and I have something going on for me, and then I venture into this, they might turn around on me, and that's the end of me. Because in Kenya, it's very easy, very
It
easy
is.
to lose
Your audience.
Yeah.
But right now, if you go to Kenya, these same artists, how much of their stuff is being played in the clubs?
Very few.
minimal.
Very few. Actually,
It's being played, but it's not that much.
Yeah.
So what do you have to lose? And I'll tell you why Kenyan artists, my opinion, I have nothing against Kenyan artists, but I'll tell you why they are not embracing or they're afraid of embracing these other sounds. Because they feel like they are betraying their authenticity.
That's true. But then when you look at it, most of them don't have that authenticity because they are copying another sound and incorporating it into themselves, unless we are talking about the vernacular artists. But you'll find, even if you find those most artists in Kenya, is that you'll find there's the hip hop route and then there's the Afro pop route.
Right.
So it's not like their own sound which they just came out of with it. They went with
But
it.
it's not their own sound, but it's
But-
their style.
It's the style. Yeah, it's the style. Yes,
Right.
the style. And then so another speaking of styles and sounds, do you think we missed a beat with Gengeton? Because Gengeton was, and I still believe is the only Kenyan sound that actually transcended borders and was being heard everywhere until we ourselves killed it again in Kenya.
I wouldn't say we killed it in Kenya.
But you kind of looked funny when you.
We didn't kill it. We
didn't
the
support it.
Gengeton artists and the genre stagnated and did not grow with the times.
Did it? So again, my question: did it stagnate because they were not creative, or they could not evolve, or did it stagnate because it was not given the opportunity to stagnate? Because
I think it was a little bit of both. I think it didn't get the resources it needed to be able to grow, and the guidance it needed to be able to grow. And at the same time, I feel like okay, bongo, they sing in Swahili. It's this sweet melody.
Yeah.
If you can do bongo in Amapiano, and I'm not just saying tomorrow we might come up with another beat, another sound may take over that's called something completely different. I'm using Amapiano as an example because it's what's popping right now. But if you can take bongo, that used to be Kina Cinderella and Makmunga, and you can use that language, that sweet language, and maybe even make it a little crude in some of these songs, but it's still that sweet language, and do Amapiano with it, right? And do that Swahili vibe with Amapiano. Why can't you take that gengeton, that sheng rap, and take it into Amapiano?
I'm actually a believer of what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, when it's just that, like when it's a tweet, you don't see it, but the way you've broken it down and you've explained it actually makes total sense, because we've seen Nigerians who have jumped on Amapiano and have become world beaters, people like Ashake.
Yeah.
And like he was a nobody until he started singing with an Amapiano, and then all of a sudden he blew up.
Exactly.